All right, and I forgot to tell you that this is an 11-line psalm. All right, so we are in line 5. The sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. And so that sends us to Genesis 1, 9 and 10. Genesis 1, 9 and 10. So anytime we're talking about something being created, you know we're going to Genesis 9 and 10. That says, then God said, then God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. And indeed it was. And everything God made was good. But man, because he eaten off that tree of good and evil, caused things to become evil. So, let's go back to Psalm 95, line 5. So it says, the sea is his, and for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. God did everything. And then 6, oh come, let us worship and bow down. Well, let me see something right quick. See something right quick. So I'm just go back to Genesis 1. All right, then God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas, and God saw that it was good. And said, let the dry land appear, and it was so. So God spoke everything into existence. The psalmist says that in 5, the sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. Well, is that a contradiction? Where God said that he told the dry land to appear, and it did. And the psalmist said, and his hands formed the dry land. Is that a contradiction? This wasn't in my study, but apparently the Lord wants me to, he brought it back to my remembrance and want me to explain it for some reason, but I guess for a good reason. I'm sorry, Lord. Let's go back to Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So, all right. And then so that refers John 1:1. Genesis 1:1 refers us to John 1:1. So we're going to go to John 1:1. We got a Bible study today. This may go over. 5 minutes, so just bear with me. Because we're trying to see why it was two different things with what God said and what the psalmist said. So John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. Who is the Word? All right. Jesus. Look at 14. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Now, in the beginning, going back to 1:1, if we replace Jesus, word for Jesus, it will read, in the beginning was Jesus, and Jesus was with God, and Jesus was God. Okay, and Jesus was in the beginning with God. Now, if we go to Colossians, let's go to John 1, and 3. And it says, all things were made through him. So all things were made through Jesus. And without him, nothing was made that was made. And clearly nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. So now let's go to Colossians 1. Let's go to Colossians 1. Colossians 1. And let's look at 16, well 15. It says, Colossians 1:15, he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and in him all things consist. Now, what does all that mean? With what Genesis said about God said, let the earth appear, and it did. And the psalmist saying that he made the earth, the dry land, with his hands. Well, and John 1 tells us that what? In the beginning was a word. Well, the word is Jesus. And now you're going to have to follow me this, because I shared this with my Sunday school group years ago. And I told them to hold on to their heads, because it, it's going to blow your mind. All right, so Jesus is a word of God. I tell you what, let's pause here and we'll pick it right back up. And we'll just pick it right back up in the next segment.